Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Yes, it's Daryl from Dixon. I know that Andrew Berry's getting a lot of heat for some of his previous draft choices, like Jedrick Wills. But with Jedrick Wills, we talk about how wonderful Bill Callahan was. Do we not think Callahan had a hand in us getting Wills? Same with Siaki Ika. I mean, obviously now hindsight, is not a good pick, but Jim Schwartz was raving about the guy. I mean, I thought that was something he wanted. So, I mean, we're starting to see a few players that Berry drafted, start to come on a little bit. Isaiah McGuire, obviously he was the guy that jumped up for JOK. I mean, he's injured now, but he's been fantastic. Emerson's taken a step back, but he's looking pretty good. I say it's a little bit too soon to cut bait on Andrew Berry. I think we need to give him a chance to see what he can do with some higher draft picks that he hasn't had previously. Thank you.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Jack, people that watch the show know I agree. I'll listen to the people that want to move on from Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry because it's been a really bad year. Their job is to go from where they're at, which is kind of mediocre. They've a couple playoff. You got to be a consistent playoff team. First year after the extension, they just haven't. It's been not good. They've got to rebound, and now you got to make it a consistent playoff team.
I just want to say that's not my voicemail, even though I fully agree with what the guy was saying. I do not have an accent like that. But it's one that I think Andrew Berry should have been stronger, because if you look at all of the analytics, they loved Wirfs over Wills. And I think he probably just went to Callahan. And I understand that. If I was a first-time GM, I wouldn't be like, all the numbers and all the data says I should take Wirfs. I'm going to lean on a guy like Bill Callahan and go, who do you want? So for me, that's the only logical reason of why we got the guy that wasn't the analytics darling out the two. And then with Eco, it was like, nothing of analytics says you go and take the big defensive tackle. But it was someone that apparently Schwartz continued to rave about and wanted through the process. And he's sort of... I think he needs to stand up for himself more, Andrew Berry, and go, no, I'm not going to work within the building. I get why you want to do that, because you want to work with your coaches. You want to bring these people in because of the experience and talent they bring. But at the same time, they're reasons why they're coaches and not GMs. So I don't think Andrew Berry should bow to that pressure. And it's tough with a small sample size, because people adore John Dorsey for his drafting. But at the same time, if it weren't the Cleveland Browns trading up, he would have drafted Johnny Football in KC, because he loved him in the draft process. It's out there. It's everywhere. And it's one that it's tough to know. And Nico Collins was someone that the Browns were zoned in on and going to pick. And then suddenly he goes, I think it was 1 or 2 picks early to the Texans. It's such a tough thing to look at drafting, because we only see such a small picture. Andrew Berry's had literally no picks within the first 2 rounds. And that makes it tough to judge on him in the same way. Like, hey, if you have a couple of picks in the top of the first round, your naturally returns going to look better. But once you look beyond that, did Dorsey have any success outside of the top 36 picks? Not really. Whereas Andrew Berry's brought a lot more talent through. Emerson, not looked good this year, but been a good player overall. Maguire's looking good. Tillman's looking good. There's been a lot of hits and players that they're not going to be stars, but when you don't draft outside of those top picks, you're not going to hit stars. But are you hitting players that are constantly performing and elevating? I think he's doing an okay job. The question is now, can he do a great job? I expect to see more trade downs, more picks, very much like the Eagles, and that should then lead to better results down the line.